right, good morning, everyone. It is a beautiful but rainy Monday, June 9th, 2025. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he. Broadcasting today from the United States of America, where law and order will rule the day. I promise you. It's also the place where people who serving us in the military made this place great, made it free, kept it free. Like Michael Burke, Pittston, Paul Solomon, Wyoming Valley, Nicholas Coyer, Chinchilla, Gregory Phillips, Oneida, New York, James Foley, Dixon City, and Walter Kopich, Stillwater, Fishing Creek Township. Veterans we lost this year, but celebrate on this Monday. The United States of America, founded with a certain knowledge and understanding by our incredible founding fathers, that the government is not our parent, shall not be our guide, shall not be our salvation and our direction, not any of these things, but is nothing more than a necessary evil we require to organize and protect society. The United States of America, the country where, for the first time in human history, freedom was declared to be an unalienable right granted to each individual by God. It was not something to be parceled out to groups. It was not something to be controlled by government or government officials. Our great American Constitution ensures and codifies freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of association, economic freedom, and freedom of the press. Doesn't matter what they do, if they lie, if they make it up, it doesn't matter. We know better. Now, armed with these freedoms, and only because we have them, a ragtag bunch of immigrants, rejects, and their progeny created the richest, most powerful, most culturally diverse and accepting nation ever to grace our planet Earth. America, the only place specifically invented and designed so that every American can live their life in the manner they choose, unlimited by their background, upbringing, race, color, or creed, unhindered by the government or those who would use government to control others for their own comfort, benefit, or power. This Bob Cordaro Show, well, it will always be convincingly conservative, lovingly logical, proudly and passionately patriotic, and reliably right. And so we gavel to order this meeting of the Club for Common Sense. And we promise you a sanctuary of sanity for the balance of this morning. And you need it. You need it, man. The crazies are out there. They're in L.A. We're going to have Kurt Schlichter on today. He's got a lot of direct involvement. Member of the National Guard out there, and he's been a great commentator, West Point graduate. We've had him on before. And he's going to tell us about L.A., what's happening out there, crazy stuff. And, of course, our great usual Monday musings. That'll be at 11 o'clock today. I've just asked them to switch times. But, John Perillo, wanted to start with that Andy Rooney bit because I do not want to forget about and immediately pass by D-Day. I watched over the weekend, with the rain, there was opportunity. But let me say, they're so riveting you can't turn them off. I watched the Pacific. I'm not quite done with it, I don't think. And I watched Band of Brothers. It's just unbelievable. They just leave you teary-eyed. You're watching and just beyond grateful for the men and women who came before us, who made this country great, who kept it great, who brought it to preeminence with their blood, their sweat, their tears, their lives. So I wanted to touch on that. But, man, two shows that I cannot get enough of, and I urge anyone who can watch them get Band of Brothers, get The Pacific. I think one is HBO. I think they're both HBO. They're both HBO. Tom Hanks and there was a lot of other people involved, but Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg involved in major ways. But amazing stuff. Well, I had a great weekend. Cutie and I started Friday night. We go down to the Stegmeyer Mansion. I cannot get over it. I cannot get over it. I'm thinking, I don't know how you guys are. I'm this way, not just with food, but with experiences. I can't stop thinking about it. Like, when I'm thinking about, well, it doesn't open, I think till Wednesday. Like, when can I get there again? This is one of John Basiliga's joints. We can call them joints, right? That's the old days. And from start to finish, I just overwhelmed. You know what it was, too? I was comfortable. Just completely comfortable. And, man, it was... we're going to do, I'm going to talk a little bit about it later. But it's not open night. Now, what is open is a Terra 519, which is on that level. But these are two of the finest restaurants, different styles. Like, I'm more of this traditional style. And you're in a mansion. It's like old Newport mansion. There were some great people there. We're going to talk about the bartenders were great. Our waitress, everybody that served they served a Caesar salads tableside, made it in front. It was just, I'm telling you, it was like you were from another era. I was transported, and very, very happily so. So I've got to brag about this place because I don't know, it just exceeded my expectation. It really did. But yeah, we've got Kurt Schlichter on to talk about the LA riots. We've got, and I mean, these are the same sick, paid goofballs. It doesn't matter what it is. They're paid by the Soros types, and they go running wherever they're needed to cause a ruckus and cause a problem. Listen, I lived in L.A. There's a lot of normal people there. These are not normal people. They're not even primarily indigenous to the city. Somebody texts in, "Good morning, Bob. My wife and I watched Force 10 from Navarone, the movie, made in 1978. First time I watched the whole movie, it was great." Well, LTS back at you. Somebody said you can get the Band of Brothers on Amazon. Yeah, there's a lot of venues to get it. But, yeah, Force 10 from Navarone, all right. And I'm not strictly speaking a war movie aficionado. And by the way, one of the Band of Brothers is from Wilkes-Barre. And they talked about him. He had wars. He even mentioned in the last episode Wilkes-Barre. And he went back and became a school administrator in a Wilkes-Barre school district. Yeah, great. Just, I'm telling you, I'm sitting there with Chauncey with tears in my eyes. Chauncey's probably wondering, what does he have? Well, he's biting my arm off. But he's wondering why I have tears in my eyes. He probably thinks he caused them. Well, no, you didn't, Chauncey. It was Band of Brothers. So proud of the Americans. Yeah, but then Friday night we go Annie and Ange down at Stegmeyer Mansion. You want to talk about like making tremendous cocktails, all their own, unbelievable. So shout out to Annie and Ange. We enjoyed you immensely. We enjoyed the whole experience. John Basiliga was there, of course, lording over it. I don't know how he does all he does, but he does. And it was fabulous. And then Saturday, Cutie and I go with the Gentiles and brother Ron, and we go up to Marjan, and they had a concert up there. A brief interlude of No Rain, and it was a Led Zeppelin tribute band, which was awesome. And they have this sort of natural amphitheater off of between the first and second holes of the golf course. And you drive your golf cart or your vehicle, and you park, and it was fabulous. My friend Joey Gentile, we said, no, we're staying under the pavilion, which is, I said, the last time that I left an outdoor bar in good weather before it closed was never. Somebody texted in helpfully, thank you. Lieutenant Harry Welsh, Wilkes-Barre, Band of Brothers. Man, he said Wilkes-Barre on the show. I knew there was a veteran. We talked about Harry Welsh before. I so proud I couldn't really. You had a hard time gathering yourself. Fabulous the show was, and to see a guy from Wilkes-Barre in the middle of all of it, wow. So just fantastic week. Yesterday, got to go see my granddaughter Ainsley up at Sherwood. They have this. I'm trying to think how old she is. About 5, and they have this T-ball stuff. Oh my God, was it great! And then when the rain came, and then I said, "Hey, I'm going to watch." I didn't get to go to the Bucktown Fest because it started raining, but I hope it went well, or maybe they had to cancel. I don't know. Bucktown Music Fest, which had Daddy-O. Oh, gosh. But anyway, I'm watching the Pacific by that time. And so just a fabulous weekend. I can't even describe it. Well, I can describe it. I can't describe how fabulous it was, at least not accurately. All right, we'll take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We will return, and we'll do the rest of this program. Anything you want to say, 570-883-0098. Are you for the protesters in Los Angeles? Oh, Lord. Scary. We'll take a break and be back. Murph goes deep. This date, 1958, he tells us Sheb Woolley had the number one hit with the Purple People Eater. That was number one. People went to the record store and bought this thing. It's hilarious. 1954. This day, during the Senate Army McCarthy hearings, Army Special Counsel Joseph Welch, he berated Senator Joseph McCarthy in what was the catchline of the McCarthy era. Maybe more accurately, the end of the McCarthy era. Have you no sense of decency, sir? At long last, have you left no sense of decency? And our guy Joe McCarthy went down not long after that. Every bunch of you writing in, it's Lieutenant Harry Welsh. So, good morning, Bob. I live for the most part out of the area now, but I do come back for the summer to work for some of my previous clients. I did some work at both of the Stegmeyer mansions that you were talking about. Which one were you at for your treat on the past weekend? The buildings are amazing. I was at the Mary Stegmeyer mansion. That's where the restaurant and great event space is. John Basiliga has also purchased the, was it Fred Stegmeyer? But the other Stegmeyer mansion. Now, they're different in this way. The Fred Stegmeyer mansion is, it's Victorian. So like every inch of the walls is filled with something. The rooms are smaller. It's not open. The Mary Stegmeyer mansion, which is more to my taste, although the other is fabulous. Wow. I'm telling you, you go in, you get out of your car out front, they take your car, and you walk up, you think you're going to someplace amazing, and it turns out to be true. That's great. But yeah, I was at the Mary Stegmeyer mansion. Tom from Dallas lets me know the main character from the Band of Brothers, Lieutenant Winters, who became captain and all that, and then became major, was from Pennsylvania as well, New Holland, PA. How about that? How about that? Great. Ginny C. She's checking and she says, Harry Welsh was my homeroom teacher. And let's not forget Mr. Powell, who was my history teacher. They were very nice guys. That's right. There was more than one. They were very nice guys, Ginny says. Mr. Powell had lost one arm in the war and had to be uncomfortable, but he was always nice, kind, patient. Well, LTS back at you, Ginny. Wow. Somebody said, think about the contrasting character between the people portrayed in the World War II movies and today's elected Democrats standing with criminals over police. I agree. I don't get it. I really don't get it. What's their point even? So we say, good morning, Bob. Greetings, ALTS. ALTS back at you. That means always love the show. Not only did I go back to listen to Jim Radford's songs, The Shores of Normandy. Remember that was the first song we played on Friday? But watch the YouTube video. Very powerful and moving. God bless those brave warriors. Mm-hmm. Somebody texting in on the mansions. Let's see where we're at. Same... The previous owner of the Mary Stegmeyer mansion deserves credit for his creativeness and dedication to preserving those houses. He works and teaches restoration skills on similar stuff in Charleston. Yeah, Charleston's awesome. And it's so nice to know we still have some of this history and that someone is preserving it. You know, it's one of the reasons I like Mayor Brown. And the same thing for Mayor Lombardo and Pittston. They said, hey, John Basiliga, you're doing all these amazing things in Scranton. Come and do it in our town. And guess what? He did and will. Yeah. Somebody says, do you ever heard the spinoff Purple Kishka Eater? No, I did not. Oh, Lord. Somebody says the morning show repeated that it was all Trump's fault for escalating the situation. And the police had it covered. Never once mentioned the burning of cars, the rock throwing, the shutting down of the highway, or the dismantled police cars, or the protest. I know. Yeah, Trump caused them to block the highway and start fires. Yeah, oh, mean old Donald Trump. I'm telling you, anyone supporting these people is insane. There's nothing more you can say about them. Insane. But that's what we'll have Kurt Schlichter on to talk about. All right, we need to take this commercial break. I want to hear from our great sponsors, and then we want to do our first Veterans Tribute of the hour. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We'll return. Our veterans this hour and every hour, this day and every day, brought to you by John Basiliga and his incredible companies. We mentioned the Mary Stegmeyer Mansion for dinner Wednesday, open Wednesday through Saturday. It's remarkable. It's an experience. It isn't dinner. It's an experience. Annie and Ange and the gang down there make it even better. Don't forget about Eastern Roofing Systems, commercial, residential, throughout the Eastern United States. Serenity Care, 4 facilities in Lackawanna and Luzerne County. The standard, the gold standard in senior care. J. Bass Realty. The finest apartments, the finest commercial office space you'll see anywhere. Michael Burke. His family says, with a mix of sadness and gratitude, that we celebrate the life of Michael Burke. Passed away peacefully April 16th. Born in Pittston, proud graduate of St. John the Evangelist High School. He continued his academic career at King's College. He served us in the United States Army and was a Vietnam War veteran. He spent his professional career at Youth Forestry Camp No. 2, retiring as director after 32 years of service. Michael Burke's legacy lives on through his beloved family. He's survived by his devoted wife of 53 years, the former Mary Cotter Burke. 3 sons, a daughter, grandchildren, and many other nieces, nephews, brothers. Michael Burke. Paul Solomon. His family says, an athletic and spirited soul. We lost him April 17th. He was 82. Lifelong resident of the Wyoming Valley, expert skier, 50 years on the Elk Mountain Ski Patrol. Beyond skiing, Paul was a man of many talents and interests. Tennis player, judo instructor. He was a United States Marine. He held his time in the military as formative chapter filled with meaningful experiences. Graduate of Wilkes College, master's in finance from that same grade school. He first married Marilyn Makita Solomon, with whom he lived in Kingston until her passing. He later found love again and married Susan Bratkowski Burroughs. He lived a life on his own terms. Energy, vitality, and a remarkable set of skills. He will be remembered not only for what he did, but for the drive, discipline, and spirit with which he lived. Paul Solomon. Our great veterans this hour, brought to you by John Basiliga and his great companies. Storm Tracker 16 forecast from meteorologist Joe Snedeker. Today, a mix of clouds and sun, chance of showers. Dear Lord. Some thunderstorms moving in late tonight. 72 degrees. Tonight, clouds and showers, low 64. Tuesday, morning clouds and rain, some clearing by the afternoon, 78. Wednesday, sunny and warmer, 83. All right. This is too much rain even for me. I'm like, always. And then you start to think about people that are, they're having flooding in their houses, flooding in their streets, potential flooding, all over the place. The farmers, they're trying to bring in the hay. They're trying to plant crops. It's at the point where it's not good for anyone. And man, did it rain last night. Incredible. And so anyone who's being burdened by this, I feel for you. We had landscapers that, they had to work on a Sunday because there was one dry spot, and they worked through a drizzle yesterday afternoon, and they got the job done. Man. Yeah, so there's a lot of people that this is starting to affect because it's so nuts, All right, let's check out what Larry from Plymouth has to say. All right, Larry, how are you, my friend?
Hello, Bob.
What's up, Larry?
I don't know, Bob. I was okay until today. I didn't have a drink in 4 days, but now I'm here drinking one.
All right.
After listening to the show, Bob.
Oh, because of me.
But anyway, Bob.
Oh, what, Joe McCarthy?
The greatest American, one of the greatest Americans. He was doing exactly what to looking for these scumbags in Washington and in Hollywood.
Yeah, but he didn't do his homework. There were plenty of communists to find.
And they were looking for John Wayne was even looking for him in a movie.
He didn't do his homework.
Tail Gunner Joe.
I know.
Great senator from Wisconsin. That's all I got to say about him.
He was an actor, but don't get all lathered up about that. By the way, I didn't say anything negative. I just said what
you said that goofy, liberalized communist Democrat, what he said about him.
Have you no shame?
Right.
Yeah.
Don't they have any shame, Bob? Just take a look at them. If you're
all right,
a Republican,
I don't want to get off track here, Larry, because then we'll have to play the Twilight Zone.
If you're a Republican today, Bob, and you don't hate all Democrats, you're not a real Republican. But anyway, with the riots, Bob, have you ever seen these? I guess they run on radio waves or something. These machines where they could point it at a crowd and turn it on. And if you're off to the side, you don't hear anything. You're in back of it, you don't hear anything. But if they turn it high enough and point it at a crowd, they could blow their eardrums out. And that's what they need to do, Bob, because these crowds need to feel pain. They have to break their will to do this. Just like my favorite general of all time, Sherman, during the Civil War. He broke the South's will to fight. And that's what you have to do with these people.
I'd have to think about such extreme measure, but I will tell you this. If they try to harm the police or the National Guard or the Marines that are there, I have no problem if they're shot. I really don't.
I'll tell you what. If Trump is looking for martial law, I'm all for it. I'm on his side because I don't have nothing to fear because I am a Trumpster.
Well, these are paid rioters at the core of all of this activity. They
of course.
hate America.
Of course.
They're enemies of all of us. There are enemies. They truly are. And then you got their politicians, Mayor Bass, who has not even she's gotten nothing done in the rebuilding of Los Angeles. Literally nothing done. And that idiot Gavin Newsom, it's unbelievable.
Bob, and did you see what the governor
Maxine Waters. I mean, you couldn't. Let me say this. They elected these scumbags in Los Angeles, so they've got to pay the price for their stupidity. But, man, they better wake up soon.
But did you see, Bob, what the governor of Arizona did, the bill she what the heck you call it? She vetoed it.
We talked about it last week. She vetoed it.
Having Chinese bases next, or farmland or whatever next to our bases. Did you see the map, Bob, of all the land in this country that the Chinese own? It's more than half of the country.
No, it isn't.
Oh, but did you see the map, Bob? Take a look at the map. You would not believe. I didn't believe.
It's hundreds of thousands of acres, but it isn't half the country.
Well, take a look. Maybe it's not. They showed all these red areas. If it's all those red areas, it's more than half the country.
Bill Gates still owns more farmland than them, but that's probably the same thing.
But anyway, how are they allowed to buy land in this country? They shouldn't even be allowed to do that.
Well,
a foreign country doing it. If you're a citizen here, you're a Chinese citizen, okay, but not the country of what do you call China?
Well, it isn't the country of China. It's Chinese who are beholden to the communist Chinese government.
Well, okay, whatever it is, they should not be allowed to do it.
Correct. Because as we just saw, and I talked about this last week, as we just saw in Russia, Ukraine launched a series of drone attacks. Well, they could be accomplished from Chinese farmland.
Yeah.
And they could do all kinds of devastation to military installations, cities, you name it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But Bob, one last thing. I hope that what I feel bad about is with Trump and Elon Musk. I hope they get together, but by looking at Trump, it don't sound like they will.
Well, Trump and his adversaries. It doesn't matter if it was Marco Rubio. It doesn't matter if it was some never make a comeback. Ted Cruz, and policy and ideology very often trump this sort of childish pettiness that's going on between the two.
Do you think it has, like they've been talking about, that it has anything to do with the medication or drugs that Elon Musk has taken?
I would have no idea. He's been that way.
I don't know what, but they said one thing, Bob. That guy doesn't sleep.
Well, he's geniuses have their downside.
Bob, you good you said that. Now I know why I don't sleep because Bob, I haven't had a drink in 4 days until today, but I haven't had and when I do, Bob, I'm up at 2:00 in the morning and I'm in the kitchen and down the cellar and doing everything all night.
Well, that's good.
I don't know.
Larry, you're retired.
Do that because
You're retired. So what's the difference? Seriously, whether you're doing something at 2 in the morning or 2 in the afternoon doesn't matter. The time is your own.
Another guy, Bob, who only slept very little. All of them did. It was Einstein, Edison. They only slept about 4 hours a night.
Well, it proves where I am on the genius scale. I'll sleep.
Well, Bob, what it tells me is
if I don't sleep 9 hours, I'm unhappy.
Oh, what it tells me, Bob, is I'm probably the smartest guy you know.
There you go. You won't get disagreement from me, Larry.
Okay, Bob. You have a good day.
Friend. All right. Larry from Plymouth. We'll take a break. Bloomberg Money Minute in the middle, and then we'll be back. It's the Bob Cordaro Show on a Monday. 1969, this date, the Senate confirmed Warren Burger to be the new Chief Justice of the United States, succeeding Earl Warren. Earl Warren was a huge disappointment in the looking back, former governor of California. He may not have been as bad as many thought he was at the time, because being progressive or liberal was actually not such a bad thing. But Warren Burger was sort of profoundly mediocre. He looked the part. I could see how Nixon thought, oh, look at this guy. He looks like the Chief Justice of the United States. But he didn't do a great job. Bobby Vinton, though, did. And on this date, 1962, he debuted on the charts, Murph says, with his first hit. I didn't know that was his first. Roses Are Red. Cute song. Cute, cute, cute. Tom from Dallas says, how horrific was the fighting in the Pacific? These men had to endure. It's no wonder we had to use nukes to end the war. That was the more humane way to go, carrying, as crazy as that sounds. The numbers of deaths on both sides would have been more than the result if we didn't use it. Of course. Harry Truman made the right decision to drop those bombs. It saved Japanese lives by the millions. By the millions. Lee says, don't fool yourself. This direct backing of riots and protesters is a direct result from a few elites that want to bring down the white Christian nuclear family America as we know it. I can't disagree with you. They hate us. They hate how we were formed and who formed us. Somebody said, Bob, when I text in, I get this message. WILK-FM, thank you. You will no longer receive message unless you text us again. Additional support. Man, keep texting us then, but I don't know that part of it. Do you know that, Bulldog? Do you know how that works? No, Bulldog's shaking his head no. Somebody said, I saw Maxine Waters in the streets of L.A. spewing her nonsense. She just seems to be there riling things up. She's a batty old woman. These people are either stupid or ill-informed. I cannot figure them out. Isn't California in enough trouble financially? How do they think we can afford to keep everyone here? Especially the drug dealers and other criminals. I would never hurt a child. This is different. Now, Maxine Waters, she's so stupid and disgraceful. Remember, here's all you need to know about Maxine Waters. She does not live in her congressional district because her congressional district is mired in poverty. She lives in a gated community outside of her congressional district. That's what scum she is. And that's how little she's done for her district. She's scum. She's a disgusting, stupid human being. I really believe she believes what she says. She's that stupid and scummy. Not even worth discussing, honestly. But she's a fact of life for us. Somebody texted in, my late father-in-law, Andrew Martino, was also a veteran of the Battle of the Bulge. They were truly the greatest generation. Let me honor Mr. Martino, your father-in-law. Get his information to me. You send it in to Robert.Cordaro, Cordaro, at Odyssey, AUDACY.com. Robert.Cordaro at Odyssey.com. Please, let's have a veterans tribute. And I welcome you to call in. Somebody said, put the rioters away like the left did with the January 6 people for undetermined periods of time. I'm with you. I am with you. Somebody says, welfare check on Larry. He's doing great. Don't you worry about Larry. The Dems were in an uproar over the MS-13 Maryland dad. Now what do they have to say? They'll probably defend him more. They will. But by the way, I disagree with the Justice Department decision to bring him back here. You only glorify the idiot. Keep him and let. They'll move on to the next subject, the left-wing loonies. They will move on. They'll move on. Why bring them here and give them a chance? Because you've always got a chance to win your case. What if he wins his case? Bob LTS, these geniuses didn't sleep because because their minds were constantly spinning. Larry's is spinning, but in the twilight zone. Slick, come on, man. We know he's a smart guy. I've spent time with him. He's truly is a smart. He may not be the smartest guy I know, but he's up there. Somebody said it's so wet out there. I'll bet Tom Clark hasn't been able to say drought in months. Tom Clark hasn't been on the TV for decades now. You mean Snedeker, don't you? Somebody said the roses are red reminds him not somebody, Tom from Dallas, reminds him of Goodfellas. Remember that? Yeah, he performs at the Copa. Navy guy says, if you get that message to stop, use the word end or stop in your text. They must have been texting you. That's right, whoever that is. Another regarding Maxine Waters. And think of how stupid the people are that lead the Democrat Party. Think of what idiots they are. The same for AOC. She can't find her district. It's going to hell in a handbasket. She's doing nothing. These people are real idiots. I'm telling you. And a couple other suggestions, which we will get to, regarding that text message you got from regarding sending texts. All right, we'll take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. On the other side of the news, Kurt Schlichter. He's in the middle of it in L.A. We're going to find out firsthand what is happening there. We'll be back with him after this. You nailed it, Levon. Great good morning, everyone. 10:10 a.m. here in the great Northeast. This beautiful but rainy Monday, June 9th, 2025. This is the Bob Cordaro Show, and I am he. And it's a big day to fight for America, defend our values, and honor the brave who have made us and kept us free. People like the veterans we've lost this year, but celebrate on this Monday, like Paul Bernard Solomon, Wyoming Valley, Michael Burke, Pittston, James Foley, Dixon City, Gregory Phillips, Oneida, New York, born Carbondale, Nicholas Coyer, Chinchilla, and Walter Kepsich, Stillwater. So with history, our great founding fathers, and the incomparable Constitution of the United States of America as our guides, let us continue today's battle, reminding you, as we gavel to order this meeting of the Club for Common Sense, that the Bob Cordaro Show will always be convincingly conservative, lovingly logical, proudly and passionately patriotic, and reliably right. And yes, we intend the double entendre. We will provide a sanctuary of sanity for all of you for the balance of this morning. Well, a guy who's been doing that for a lot of people. He is a prolific author, a trial lawyer, retired Army infantry colonel. He's got a degree from the Army War College. He's a senior columnist for townhall.com. His books include, I won't go through the whole list, but they're awesome. You look up Kurt Schlichter, you're going to read a funny and great book, starting with American Apocalypse. And he also wrote Los Angeles, Silver Bullets on the Sunset Strip. Appropriate for today. And I would remind you that he was deputy commander of the California Army National Guard Brigade that Trump mobilized in this latest situation. He did Los Angeles riots and other operations, if you recall, from his previous appearances. Kurt Schlichter, welcome to the Bob Cordaro Show. How are you?
Well, Bob, you missed my most important feature, which is my family comes from Chambersburg.
He's a Pennsylvania guy. We love that. Hey, so Kurt Schlichter, tell us, just give us your view of the whole thing.
Well, first of all, everything you think about what's happening is wrong. There is no widespread chaos. It's limited to downtown, which is nobody goes downtown except lawyers who have to go to court and degenerate bums. Well, other degenerate bums. The Los Angeles has 20 million people in it. It is 75 miles wide on each direction. 99.9% of us have absolutely no interaction with anything that's going on. This is an information operation. I'll be writing more on that at Town Hall either today or tomorrow. I've been up since about, 4 a.m. California time talking to people about this because of my unique background. I was actually deputy commander of the California Army National Guard Brigade that's out on the streets right now. And I was out with the riots, the earthquake, San Diego fire. So I did a lot of what they're doing. Also wrote a law review article on military support to civilian operations. So I got a little bit of background in this.
That's why we came to you.
That's why you came to me, man, and I appreciate it. Like I said, everything everybody thinks that's going on is wrong. This is a pure information operation. What do I mean by that? What's information Why is he talking like he went to the Carlisle War College? Well, it was a party war college. It's Chico State of War Colleges, but that's a different point. Here's what's happening. A kinetic fight is one where you win by beating the hell out of somebody else. You shoot them, you capture territory, you beat the hell out of them. This is not kinetic, not at all. They don't have the capacity to be kinetic. If the bad guys, the rioters, everything decide they wanted to be kinetic, all those guardsmen with the M4s would put them in holes in about 2 seconds. This is an information operation. It is designed to create a narrative in your heads to make you comply with what they want. What they want to do is give the image of, oh my gosh, California is in crisis. If we don't give in, if we don't stop Trump from enforcing the law, bad things are going to happen. There's no use in resisting. And fortunately, Trump understands that. Trump understands that he needs to provide a option where people can say, no, when I have to choose between, Trump raising his fist under the flag picture and the picture of the, third world barbarian waving his garbage country's flag on the motorcycle, and you know which ones I mean.
Yep.
We're going to choose Donald Trump. He understands in information operation, the bad guys lose if there is another way. And what Trump's doing is providing another way by providing strength. And one of the ways he provides strength was bringing out the National Guard, not to be kinetic. They're actually just standing there doing point security. These are not MPs. These are infantry guys. All they do is kill people, so they're not really good at enforcing the law, but they're really good at providing security. He's freeing up the cops, the ICE, and the FBI, and the Homeland Security to go out and do cop things to arrest these guys. And it's beautiful, man. It's beautiful because the bad guys have to expose their networks to continue this operation, right? Their funding, their command and control, their logistics. And we just spent 25 years in a war fighting guerrillas, understanding how to map these organizations. So now we're going to use that to figure out who's paying for these guys, who's supplying them. Because remember, see how these guys show up everywhere?
Yeah.
And suddenly they've got logistics and administrative support, and they've got money. Where's this stuff coming from? This is an opportunity, and Trump is taking it. So when you start feeling bad about what's going on and you think there's chaos, that's exactly the wrong thing to think. There's very little chaos. There's very little practical problem. This is a huge opportunity to run up the score and further humiliate Democrat politicians who are being shown as totally impotent.
Kurt Schlichter's our guest. Not only was he one of the commanders of this California Army Guard that was brought out by President Trump, but he's an Angelino, a former Pennsylvania, but an Angelino who knows this stuff back, left, right. So they're trying to make this message happen that there's chaos going on and because a lot of people do react that way, Kurt Schlichter. They say, "Oh, I can't take this cacophony.
Yes.
Make it stop." And Trump,
Yes.
you're wrong for trying to suppress it. And that's who they're aiming for.
Exactly. And the way you fight these color revolutions, that's what they are, and they happen around the globe. The color revolution is designed to make you submit. Now, remember, the Democrat Party supports this tacitly by having these, scumbags, dirtbags out on the street. They have deniability. But remember, they are supporting what the Democrat Party wants. So the Democrat Party is in kind of a tough place. But the Democrat Party right now can't do anything. It lost the last election decisively. Thank you, Pennsylvania, for coming through for us. It is, it's completely hopeless. Did you see, Jabba the Hutt girl was coming out there and she was going to appeal to men? I wrote about that in Town Hall this morning. Democrats' man problems. It's a very funny and very true column at Town Hall. But look, the Democrats don't know what they're doing. They're a mess. They've lost everything. They have no coherent message. They've decided, okay, well, we're gonna try violence.
You've observed these. The Gavin Newscoms, you've observed the Maxine Waters, the Karen Basses up close in California and Los Angeles. Do they really believe what they're saying?
No. Look, they want Trump to be humiliated. They want Trump to be broken. They want illegal aliens to stay here because the purpose of illegal aliens in California is to replace American citizens. And that's what they did in California. They essentially imported a new voting base. And they will tell you you're racist for saying that. But I'm completely indifferent to what they say. Also, they say it themselves. The fact is what Trump is doing is threatening their power base. So they're perfectly happy to have these rioters out there threatening ICE, or were until they realize that it makes them look weak, because it's not ICE and DHS and the FBI who are out there on the 101 freeway trying to get these idiots to stop blocking it. It's LAPD, California Highway Patrol, LA sheriffs, the local guys, and the local guys are the guys taking the grief. And now Gavin Newsom looks completely powerless. Gavin Newsom cannot provide a safe city. I mean, Karen Bass let half of LA burn down, and they're still not rebuilding in any meaningful way. But it was one of the most leftist parts of the city. So in my view, it's kind of like, well, I can't care more about you than you do. So you voted for him.
Kurt Schlichter, one of our great producers, said that anti-ICE rioters in L.A., they're being organized by the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights of Los Angeles. Chirla is funded by Act Blue.
Yes.
There's direct connections to the Democrat Party and the usual suspects.
Absolutely. And I am so excited about the ability to map out these networks. We've got two. First, we have the criminal side, and I would not be surprised to see some indictments for conspiracy to obstruct federal officers and a bunch of other things. I think that will happen. We have a very aggressive and well-run Justice Department now, and the FBI under Kash Patel and my pal Dan Bongino are just doing a fantastic job. But the other thing we have
is the rank and file following them, because they followed the Comeys of the world. I mean, I'm a little concerned.
Most of them will follow whoever's in charge. You will have some resistance. You will have others who are like, well, I'd like my pension. And this week I got to follow the conservatives. Next week I'll follow the leftists.
Yeah.
So it'll get done. But the other thing that we have is an opportunity in Congress to get lame Republicans off their fourth point of contact and start taking away money that we give to these NGOs. And people need to start getting the word. For instance, Rand Paul is out there. Oh, we're spending too much on immigration. Dude, check your watch, because you need to know what time it is.
Mm-hmm.
We're not taking it anymore. Fortunately, you've got a great senator in Pennsylvania, my pal Dave McCormick.
Oh, he's great.
I don't hold it against him. He was West Point. But he really knows. And and for a Democrat, I'll take Fetterman over my communists any day.
Yeah. Kurt Schlichter, so tell me, when do they go to the next subject or the next place where they could, when are they beaten down in this specific anti-ICE L.A. protest?
Well, they're not going to leave because they're beaten down. They're going to leave because it stops being useful to the message.
And that's what I meant.
They really have two. Yeah, they have two choices. First is to accelerate the violence to try and see if they can draw a counterreaction, an overreaction from Donald Trump. And the problem, the risk for that is you start getting more violent to see if you can force an overreaction, and then Trump reacts violently. That somebody shoots a guardsman, and all the guardsman buddies put him in a grave with their M4s, which my boys would do in a heartbeat. The danger is normal Americans go, oh, okay, well, you shot at a cop and then you died. I don't see the problem. That is a risk for them. That'd be a bad result to their information operation. The other part is to see, oh, this isn't working out for us. We need to pull back. We need to take our foot off the accelerator. And I think that's what you're going to see, because right now Trump doesn't look bad. The chaos on the street makes the Democrats running California look bad, because it's the California forces that are, having to hide under overpasses, that are getting their cars burned and such. So I think you're going to see, I think this has been very damaging for the Democrats. I think, gosh, you're in Wilkes-Barre and you're talking about what's happening in my city a continent away. That's not good for the Democrats. Not at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of doubt that I'm a long way from my Pennsylvanian roots, right? But I'm kind of doubting that my people are sitting there going, I think we should be nicer to illegal aliens who set fire to stuff. That does not sound like my people, Ed.
Well, Kurt Schlichter, thank you so much for joining us. We may follow up on this issue, but there's many more. We've got to keep in touch with you. We love when you come on.
Anytime. You guys are special to me because you're from the homeland. So anytime you want me, I will take time out of my busy schedule of media. I'm doing like 10 media things today, and I'm guest host on a national radio program tomorrow.
Absolutely love it. Kurt Schlichter, thank you.
Have a good time.
Buy his books; they're awesome. You go to Amazon, look up Kurt Schlichter titles. They are legion, and we enjoy you being on here and reporting direct from where it's happening. Thank you.
Wait, see, and the beauty of it,
yep.
Nothing's happening. I'm going to go to the beach.
Amen. Thank you, my friend. Kurt Schlichter. We'll take a break. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. Our veterans this hour and every hour, this day and every day. Brought to you by our man John Basiliga and his great companies. Serenity Care, personal care community. 4 locations, Mid-Valley, Old Forge, Wyoming, Kingston. Personal care services, dementia care services at their Mid-Valley and Kingston locations. All of these facilities have been completely renovated, accepting new residents. John Basiliga and his gang, they've got a passion for providing the highest quality senior care in the area, and their beautiful personal care homes are the place to be if you are the senior or a member of your family. Gregory Phillips, late of Oneida, New York, but born in Carbondale. We lost him April 22nd. Graduated from Scranton Prep and Susquehanna University. He joined the U.S. Air Force and completed a tour of duty in Vietnam. Honorably discharged, Staff Sergeant. After the Air Force, Greg received his nursing degree from SUNY Morrisville and worked as an RN in the VA hospital, Syracuse, New York, and then in Oneida Hospital. He also worked for Nationwide Insurance. He's survived by his wife, Teresa, a son, a daughter, 4 grandchildren, and a number of other family members. Gregory Phillips. Nicholas Coyer. He died April 18th at age 85. He was from Chinchilla. His widow is the former Judy Otto. They would have been married 65 years in April. Born in Dunmore, the son of the late Nicholas Coyer, he was a proud United States Marine. Prior to retirement, he worked as a driver at UPS for over 35 years. Dedicated member of Our Lady of Snow Church and member of the Marine Corps League. A son, 2 daughters survive him, as well as 4 grandchildren and 1 great-grandchild. Nicholas Coyer. Our great veterans this hour brought to you by Serenity Care, the gold standard in senior care in Northeast Pennsylvania, and our man John Basiliga. Storm Tracker 16 forecast from meteorologist Joe Snedeker. Today, a mix of clouds and sun, chance of showers, some thunderstorms moving in late tonight. Yeah, we need more. 72 degrees today. Tonight, clouds and showers down to 64. Tuesday, morning clouds and rain, some clearing by afternoon, 78. Wednesday, sunny and warmer, 83. At 10:35 this morning, 65 degrees outside the studios at the moment. Bob, please spell Kurt's last name. Thanks very much. It's Schlichter. Schlichter. His books are, I'm telling you, his books are awesome. This guy is whip smart. Between his experiences and education in the military, as an attorney, with the National Guard, I mean, awesome. Kurt Schlichter. Somebody said Act Blue is the one that organized the campaign funding for Democrats, who, by the way, they're getting money directly from your taxes. And people like Elizabeth Warren are squealing like stuck pigs because they're not getting it anymore, or that Trump and Doge are trying to cut it off. Somebody texts in, Bob, look at these L.A. protesters waving the Mexican flag, a country that's controlled by cartels and violence. Is that what they want here? Well, the answer is yes. Stupid, uneducated, paid-for troublemakers is all these protesters are. Body Shop guy says, love how Bass and Newsom said they were going to handle the protest. How? Like they handled the wildfires? You nailed it. And the Democrat Party is a sickening disgrace. Unbelievable. Somebody says, your guest was very informative. The sad thing about it, many people in Lackawanna County and the country, for that matter, won't listen to a person who's a military veteran on the scene. They'll listen to propagandists like Stephanopoulos, Scott Pelley, or any of the other fools on the left. Yep. You can only help people that want to be helped. If they want to be willfully ignorant, willfully stupid, there's nothing we could do about it. But, I lived in Los Angeles myself. Kurt nailed it. Kurt Schlichter. This is happening in a portion of downtown. And Los Angeles is just huge. You can't appreciate it. You know how when you go to Manhattan, there's nothing like that. Now, there are more people living in downtown LA than in the past, but no, it's a downtown that's vacated except for sporting events. But on the weekend, it's, la. Bob, enjoyed the Schlichter interview. Good show always. Maybe California should secede from the union. LTS. I don't have a problem with that. It's really unreal. These are people who elected Karen Bass, re-elected Gavin Newsom. They re-elect continually Maxine Waters. She's a doddering old fool, a liar, a scumbag, someone who's actually done nothing for anyone but herself. Become fabulously wealthy using her position as U.S. Congressman. Unreal. Schlichter's books. American Apocalypse, Los Angeles Silver Bullets on the Sunset Strip, People's Republic, The Attack, Conservative Insurgency, The Struggle to Take Back America, We'll Be Back, The Fall and Rise of America, Militant Normals. I Am a Liberal, a Conservative's Guide to Dealing with Them. I Am a Conservative, Uncensored, Fetch My Latte, Sharing Feelings with Stupid People. Kurt Schlichter. These are all Kurt Schlichter titles. The 21 Biggest Lies About Donald Trump and You. 50 Shades of Liberal. And, of course, American Apocalypse. Absolutely fabulous. You want to have a collection of books? There it is. Bob, when did you live in L.A.? 1985. Things were somewhat normal then. This lunacy taking over. And by the way, not because the people are bad or this. You've got a lot of, so many left-wing radicals. They just said, hey, nobody's paying attention. Let's take this state over. It's got a live and let live philosophy. Now it's live and let live if you're a leftist. Not if you're a Republican, not if you're conservative. They basically did in California with white liberals what the Islamists hope to do in America. They hope to turn it into something they completely control. No tolerance for any alternate views. And I'm waiting for, like, they elected the pencil neck geek as senator over Steve Garvey. I mean, it's insane. What do you do with them? Somebody texts in, where the heck were all these people when Obama was deporting everybody? Honestly, the media is disgusting. Horrible. By the way, they do not answer for their lies and hypocrisy. They simply go to the next subject and pretend the last one never happened. All right, Mother Teresa, June 9th. When I think about them, I've got to think of something great, beautiful, holy. That would be St. Teresa. She says, some people would advise me to change certain things. For instance, they tell me that the sisters should have fans in the common room or in the chapel. I do not want them to have fans. The poor whom they are to serve have no fans. The same is true for the routine of the house. I will always ask the people, please do not interfere. Man, she stuck to it, didn't she? She lived it. Lived the life of poverty while delivering people from poverty, while helping them to survive. How about this? Robbie Vinton, actually portrayed his father, Bobby Vinton, in The Goodfellas. And he lip-synced the words and was 36-year-old at the time. Remember in Goodfellas when he was on the stage and he sends the champagne to Henry? How about that? That's hilarious. Oh, Lord. Anyway. Yeah, no, thank you to Mark Mayer for sending that information very timely. The Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights in Los Angeles is the one protesting. They're funded by Act Blue, which is funded by the Democrat Party and your federal government. Your tax dollars. This is insanity. All right. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We do have to hear from our great sponsors, and I love it when we do. We'll hear from them. We'll come back. We could talk to you or anybody. 570-883-0098. The Beatles. They had the number one hit in the UK, From Me to You. There you go. Bob Cordaro back. WILK. I know I'm going to regret doing this, but, let's do it, Bulldog. Come on, theme song, all that. No, he doesn't. But it's our man, Frank from Wilkes-Barre. Frank, how are you?
Good. All this stuff you're talking about Newsom and the National Guard.
Yeah, you enjoying the riots, Frank?
What do you call riot? Riot when you Republicans attacked the White House.
All right, the Capitol. But do you want these rioters arrested and detained for years, just like the January 6th rioters were?
What? They were pardoned. They were all out of jail.
Well, they spent years in jail, Frank. Though you know that, right?
They didn't spend what they were convicted of. They got pardoned, all of them.
Yeah, because in one instance they discovered that the Capitol Hill police escorted the person who got arrested into the Senate chambers. Remember the guy with the horns? God. He was escorted. And so they had to release him.
They done escort and they'd get killed. Well, let's go back to Newton in California.
Newscomb?
Guard.
Yes.
The National Guard.
Yes.
Trump was on his social media thing praising the National Guard for calling the rioters. And they didn't even get there yet. So what are you trying to prove? That he knows what he's doing. They weren't even deployed, and he's on his social media praising them for calling the
Frank,
riot.
do you think they should have been called out, the National Guard, when these savages are running around attacking ICE agents and attacking police stations?
Attacked the not the White House, whatchamacallit. They're the savages.
All right, that is 2021, Frank. The year is 2025. What do you think about these rioters in Los Angeles?
Call them rioters, I call them protesters.
You mean when they start fires and block highways and attack police stations? Well, no, Frank, don't talk about what happened 4 years ago. They already got their punishment.
How long that happened?
They got their punishment.
You were part of it.
Frank, they got their punishment. Let's talk about these rioters. What should happen to them, Frank? What should happen?
They should have spent time that they were convicted of. They should have been pardoned.
Frank, what about these rioters?
What? You call them, what's a riot? What's a rioter? They didn't beat no police, did they?
Yes, they did.
You're sick. You're sick as the
Jackie Gleason. Since you won't answer, Jackie Gleason's going to answer for you. That's just the way it's got to go, my man.
Yeah, I know.
Frank, one of these days you're going to see both sides of an issue. I can't wait for it.
How about you?
I really can't wait for it, my friend. Enough. I'm getting dumber as we go on. He just won't. That's insanity. That is pure insanity. Thank you, Jackie Gleason. Oh, Lordy. And this is what people believe this stuff. And they just do it like, oh, there's nothing wrong with what they're doing out there. If anybody knows Los Angeles, the 101 freeway, you block that, you're causing a nightmare for people out there. And who the hell are you to block a highway? Who are you to attack cops? Who are you to attack a police station? And these are leaders. They've got leaders holding back the Los Angeles police because these are their people. Act Blue funded lunatics. It's unreal. I don't know. Thank you for bringing that up. I apologize. One of our listeners says, wait a minute, Trump tried issuing or sending out the National Guard on January 6th, but the commies on the left, Nancy Pelosi, another Californian, refused it. That's right. Perfect. Yes. So now he says we're going to get this done. That's it. They are not going to take over a city, period. Wow. Frank. We love you, but you've just lost it. I mean, but do you see that? He cannot even see the side. He either goes back to some old trope attack on Trump, or in this case, January 6th. Hey, everybody involved in January 6th got punished. That includes, by the way, the people. It includes, remember, please remember this. It includes the people who got pardoned. They were all punished first. Somebody said the sad part of the legacy media is not showing what's really going on in L.A. I could just tell by the reaction from the left. And that's why we had Kurt Schlichter on. Nobody's closer to this or knows more about it. Somebody says, Bob, amazing how you go from one awesome, knowledgeable guest to Frank. Yeah, well, we try to be versatile here. Bloomberg Money Minute. Then we'll come back. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. what I say. Because I. Murph tells us this date, 1973. Elvis, he performed the first of 4 sold-out shows at Madison Square Garden in New York. Suspicious Minds. Well, there's a guy who's Elvis to me, and that's my man Paul from Scranton. How are you, Paul?
Hey, how are you, Bob? Sorry to bother you.
Have you ever been compared to Elvis before?
I've been just listening to you and Mr. Frank on the phone, and I just wanted to give a couple of thoughts that I have to your audience, because I really admire your audience for listening. First of all, when they stop people on the highway, they forget people being taken to the emergency room, and that it impairs their health and safety. They forgot about the people that have businesses around that area that are losing money and are jeopardized with the insurrection there. And they forget about the poor National Guardsmen. They have to leave their homes and their businesses and their jobs to go down there. I mean, they never really look at the impact that this has on the poor individuals that are fighting this thing. And then they want to say you can't put a mask on an ICE agent or somebody. They don't realize that once they take a picture, you can realize who they are, and they go after their family and their children, and it's just
Paul, they're literally
unbelievable.
They're bombing police cars from an overpass. These scumbags.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know why, and this is old-fashioned. Maybe I'm getting too old. I don't know why the fire department wasn't out there with their hoses to disperse the people. But many, many years ago, I told some people in Washington that they had a thing in Israel hundreds of years ago where they would spray the people, but there was a dye in the water, and they could identify them for weeks after.
That would be
so that
nice.
when they got sprayed and they ran home, they could always track them down and say, okay, you were at this here, you're going to have to pay for it, you know?
Paul, here's the amazing thing is, the people who are here that ICE and the federal government is trying to throw out, they're here illegally, and they are criminals.
Exactly, exactly.
What am I missing?
Yeah. I don't know why people can't think of that. I mean, I respect Mr. Frank for calling you, but do they want these guys living next door to them? Because you never know when they're going to lower the bomb on them. I mean, this is crazy. This is crazy.
Amazing. How you doing, Paul?
I have to give President Trump a lot of credit for stepping up quickly, and I'm really disappointed with the leadership in California, and especially the mayor. I mean, who wants to disrupt their community? How many lives are lost? And stuff like that. It's terrible. It's terrible. How about those poor people that had to go to work and are waiting for a cab, and the cab is being burned?
Yep.
I mean, this is unbelievable.
Nuts.
But I won't hold you up, and keep up the good
Paul.
work.
Always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, my man. We'll take a break for the news. Bob Cordaro here on WILK. We're going to return to, it's a different time, but this the right day, Monday Musings with John Perillo after the news with Brian Hughes. And yes, that rhymes. Great good morning, everyone. 11:10 a.m. here in the great Northeast. This beautiful but rainy Monday, June 9, 2025. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he. And it's a big day to fight for America, defend our values, and with the help of our man, John Basiliga, and his great companies, to honor the brave who have made us and kept us free. People like the veterans we lost this year but celebrate today, like Nicholas Coyer, Chinchilla, Gregory Phillips, late of Oneida but from Carbondale, Paul Solomon, Wyoming Valley, Michael Burke, Pittston, James Foley, Dixon City, and Walter Kopich, Stillwater. So with history, our great founding fathers, and the incomparable Constitution of the United States of America as our guides, let us continue today's battle. Gaveling back to order this meeting of the Club for Common Sense. Well, it's Monday. What does that mean? It means Monday musings. It means John Perillo. And here is our man. John, welcome, my friend.
Good to be here, Bob. How are you?
Always great.
All right. Hey, for your listeners, just for the record, it takes me several days to research these pieces, so I promise you that I was working on this particular segment long before the riots broke out in L.A. But let's get to it, right? For the last 2 weeks, we've been reviewing the causes of civil wars, and I based those pieces on some work that was done by a gentleman named David Betts, who's a British historian. And we were discussing how he began his studies of civil wars as a way to help his military better understand what British troops were facing in some of the third world places that they were deploying to. And so specifically things like cultural fractures or economic stagnation, the collapse of confidence in government, as well as a feeling that governments were illegitimate either by election fraud or because they repeatedly ignored the stated preferences of the electorate. All these things his research showed were precursors to civil wars. And what he found in his research was that many of the elements of revolution that he was studying in the Middle East were present in Europe and now also in the U.S. And I don't think that the U.S. is in nearly as bad shape as Great Britain, even after this weekend, what's going on in L.A. or France or any of those other places. But one of the lessons of civil wars is that they spread. And remember that it was one person who immolated himself in Egypt over the failure of that government to grant him a permit to sell fruit so he could do something to get money to feed his family, that kicked off widespread revolutions in the Middle East. That one event, that one guy burning himself in public resulted in widespread unrest throughout the entire region with thousands of dead. And again, just something to keep in mind when you say, well, this is isolated or it can't happen here, right? And as I mentioned, none of this is my opinion. What Mr. Betts was trying to do was to get together data on past wars and use that to analyze this current situation. And for instance, the current situation in France would result in about a 4% chance of civil war there based on his analysis, which, is kind of pretty low. But the way math works is if they do nothing to change that, that 4% gets compounded, and you wind up at about 18.5% in 5 years. So that's a little more unsettling, right? And if the chance of civil war is half as likely as Professor Betts says it is, it's still pretty significant. And he spends a bunch of time on how the militaries that he advises should prepare for civil conflict. But one thing that he touched on that fascinated me was the concept of feral cities. And again, this is before the LA thing this weekend, right? The reason why it fascinates me is that anyone who spent any time in the Middle East has seen one of these, right? As a logistician, I was always amazed at how some barely functioning city, torn apart by conflict, could do things like feed people or take away garbage, even if sometimes those things were really hit or miss. And the reason why it matters is that if you're in charge of a small military unit in one of those feral cities, you need to understand how your interactions might affect the way you're able to get food or electricity or water. So that's why Betts was studying it. There are cities with millions of people in the Middle East that seem to function to some extent without any real organization. And the original concept of feral cities comes from an essay by another historian, a guy named Richard Norton. In 2003, he defined these cities as, and I'll quote him here, a metropolis with a population of more than 1 million people in a state where the government has lost the ability to maintain the rule of law within the city's boundaries, yet remains a functioning actor in the greater international system. And the classic example of that would be someplace like Mogadishu in Somalia. There's about 2.3 million people live in that city. They don't live well there, but they live there. And that means that the city, quote, functions, if you will, no matter how messed up it is. And if we want to define what makes us feral specifically, it would include things like high levels of political corruption, areas with very limited police control, if outright no-go zones, decaying industries, if any, crumbling infrastructure, unsustainable debt, two-tier policing, and the widespread existence of private security, right? Where since the police can't provide
Sounds
security,
like Los Angeles to me.
those with means provide their own security, right?
Yeah.
So, but think about that. Let's go back through that list. Bob's chuckling at exactly what I'm trying to say. One more time. Political corruption, limited police control, that's spotty, no-go zones, decaying infrastructure, decaying industry, infrastructure that's coming apart, debt, private security, right? That absolutely defines cities like Mogadishu and increasingly places around here like L.A. We absolutely have feral cities or parts of feral cities in the U.S., and they're certainly less feral than Mogadishu, but that's not really saying that much, right? And that criteria that somebody came up 22 years ago to describe third world hellholes now describes various parts of cities in the U.S. And these conditions that he's describing get exacerbated by what's called the rural-urban divide. And another good friend of mine was talking about how in someplace in rural Virginia, what's the chances of it spreading to this? But we kind of touched on this last week, but the easiest way to visualize the rural-urban divide would be to look at that classic voting counties map, which is almost entirely red with pockets of blue. The population centers are overwhelmingly of one belief system, and the rural areas are overwhelmingly of a different belief system. And it's completely not political to point out that the divide itself is a bad thing, regardless of which side you think is right, and it's just another indicator of potential civil conflict. Again, that's not my opinion. That's what the data shows. And our red-blue map looks exactly like the French map showing the areas that voted for Marine Le Pen, her conservative party versus everyone else. And I know that Bob mentioned this before when it happened, but the French Supreme Court banned her from running for office, even though it looked like it was likely she would win with her anti-immigrant stance. The Britons have overwhelmingly said that they want less immigration, and they've been ignored by their government. And remember, if we go back to our causes of civil war, the perceived illegitimacy of governments is the highest reason for civil wars in representative countries, right? You have the inability of large sections of cities to be governed, places where the police can't even keep order. You have the problem of legitimacy, where we now say that certain politicians are either illegitimate because of their views or because of some election fraud, and you have the recipe for more Mogadishus in the U.S. And this weekend in L.A., and I know you guys have been talking about it, ICE had to use flashbang grenades just to escape the crowds who didn't want them to enforce the law. And again, I'm not commenting on right or wrong, but when you need the military or military tactics to enforce the law, when you have groups who say that the entire enforcement of that law is illegitimate, and when that metastasizes into violence, your city's feral, right? That's L.A. It's not just Mogadishu, right? And I'm going to give you a little tidbit of history that you might find interesting. When Spain descended into civil war in the late 1930s, the, quote, revolutionaries dug up the graves of nuns and put their bodies on display around the cities. And that's disgusting and bizarre, but not really when you look at it from a certain perspective. And according to Betts, one of the things that revolutionaries want to do is to both tear down the symbols of certain cultures and to normalize abnormality. And when what they're doing there is they're showing you that they don't really care about ancient traditions of those that they want to destroy. So you tear down monuments to the past because the past doesn't matter to you. So when you deface a statue or you tear it down, you make it harder to return to the past normalcy, because I guarantee you that those statues that have been removed from public squares in the U.S. will not be returned. Mm-hmm. Again, that's not a value statement. It's a statement of fact, right? And those, quote, culture wars can and do degenerate into violence. And, there's no better way to show the world that the old civil order is gone than by publicly tearing down their symbols. So if you remember, the Taliban blew up these Buddhist statues in Afghanistan. And, and people were, horrified at the fact that they destroyed this art. But the smart people in the world knew that the world had shifted there and it wasn't coming back. It was never going to be the same after the Taliban did that. And you add to that attacks on statues like Michelangelo's Pieta or the Mona Lisa, or throwing paint on whatever you don't dislike, that's tearing down. What you're doing there is tearing down the past social fabric publicly, and those were the height symbols of Western civilization. Even if the people that were destroying those classic works of art couldn't make a ceramic coffee mug if they tried, right? So I want to wrap this up with a note to the "it could never happen here" crowd. Right? There's a concept that we talk about in business and philosophy called normalcy bias, and it refers to how people generally don't respond quickly to danger because they can't believe it can happen to them. And I've had some of the same bias. I want to tell you a quick personal illustration. Right? I'm a former military officer. I've had plenty of firearms training. But I always kind of chuckled at my friends who carried weapons until one day I was at the local drugstore and a group of youths came in and started taking stuff off the shelf and generally wrecking the place. And the young gal who was giving me a shot literally hid behind me. And when I asked her why she didn't call the police, she said that it wouldn't do any good. They won't come for a while, and when they do, they'll just take a report. And I was shocked at two things. One, that the police wouldn't come, and two, that she already knew that because that kind of incident had happened enough times in the past that she knew what the outcome was going to be. Nothing happens, just hide behind the old guy and hope that he takes the bullet instead of her, right?
Yeah.
That happened 20 miles from my place, and it's feral, okay? So talk to your friends in law enforcement about what they see on a daily basis, and you understand that your normalcy bias. It's normal, I get that. But you also need to get jolted out of that state of mind. And again, this is not my opinion. This is what the data is telling us from studying civil wars in the Middle East. And we started musings years ago talking about theology and philosophy. And the reason why the Hebrews gave us stories about things like the Tower of Babel is to help us understand that tribes exist and that we have to be careful about the kinds of battles that we pick, because eventually tribalism descends into chaos. And that's not something that we want, and that we have to be careful about making sure that we don't stoke those kind of flames. So, and I know you guys have been talking about LA all day, and we don't need to do more of that. But the hypothetical out there is that the federal government is now openly arguing with the state government over the enforcement of law.
Well, they're angry in Los Angeles that the law is being enforced. That's what they're angry at. It's insanity. There's no excuse for these idiots out there.
Not only are they angry about it, but it took them hours to get the police to help the ICE officials who were there, right? Hours.
Yeah.
So what you have in that sense is almost, and we're not quite there yet, but we're almost to the point where the state decided that it was not going to support the federal government in the enforcement of a law. Well, what do you call that? Yeah. Right? I mean, just think about this for a second, to your listeners. I know it's easy to think that these are Middle Eastern problems or that they're someplace else. In the U.S., we have a state, or at least a city, who decided that they were not going to support the enforcement of the law by the federal government. I just think that's a horrible development and one that we really need to spend some time thinking about.
Well, thank you, John Perillo. We appreciate it always, my man. We look forward to next week already.
You got it, Bob. I hope you and your listeners have a great week. Thank you so much for your time, and you guys take care out there.
All right. John Perillo, Monday Musings. We'll be right back. Our Veterans Tribute this hour and every hour, this day and every day, brought to you by our man John Basiliga and his incredible companies, from Eastern Roofing Systems to Serenity Care to J. Bass Realty to Basiliga Hospitality Group. Monday night, a Terra 519 open for fine dining, one of the few places you can go first class on a Monday in Northeast Pennsylvania. James Foley, Dixon City. He was 82 when he died April 9th. Beloved husband of his wife, Irene. 48 years they were together. Born in Scranton, raised and educated in West Scranton at West Side High School, he said, where he played on the varsity and junior varsity basketball teams. 8-year member of the Pennsylvania National Guard, where he attained the rank of Sergeant E5. Bowler, golfer. He worked for U.S. Hoffman Machinery and its successor, Chamberlain, for 32 years. He was a courier and maintenance supply clerk also for the First Bank of German Community Bank for 22 years. Survived by his wife and many other family members, James Foley. Walter Kopich. He formerly worked shoeing horses. He played guitar. He was 90 when we lost him April 20th. He was from Stillwater, Fishing Creek Township. Born in 1934, Summit, New Jersey. He and his wife, Rose, would have celebrated their 63rd wedding anniversary this past May 5th. He was self-employed as a horseshoer while living in Belmead, New Jersey, horse country. He owned and operated Dutchtown Forge, where he manufactured aluminum horseshoes. He was inducted into the Horseshoeing Hall of Fame in 2007. He proudly and faithfully served this country in the U.S. Army during the Korean War. Member of the Mainville Gun Club and various gun clubs in Jersey. He was a member of the New Jersey Quarter Horses Association, the New Jersey Horseshoers Association, the Delaware Valley's Horsemen's Association, and the Somerset County Horse and Pony Club. He played guitar with various groups in the area, surviving in addition to his wife Rose, a daughter, and a grandson, all of Stillwater. Walter Kopich. Our great veterans this hour, brought to you by John Basiliga and his incredible suite of companies. Storm Tracker 16 forecast from meteorologist Joe Snedeker. Well, today a mix of clouds and sun, chance of showers. Well, that's more than a chance. Some thunderstorms moving in late tonight, 72 degrees. 66 outside the studio as I speak. Tonight, clouds and showers, low 64. Tuesday morning, clouds and rain, some clearing by afternoon, 78 degrees. Wednesday, sunny and warmer, 83. And let us pray that the rain does not come again after that. Really been incredible, hasn't it? I mean, I don't know. It's a funny thing. We had that guest on, and we'll have him on again, talking about chemtrails. Now, there's a lot of theories as to why they exist and what's the goal and all this other stuff, but one of the things that is certain, not about the chemtrails of today, because I can't prove it, is that our federal government, our military, has been trying to control the weather since the 50s, but certainly experimented continually in Vietnam. And I mean, you don't know what you're going to get when you try to do this, when you try to play God, when you try to manipulate Mother Nature. And I got to tell you, I'm not into this conspiracy theories. I don't wear a tinfoil hat. But when we get rain like this so continuously for a month and a half now, you just say to yourself, is it manipulation gone wild? I don't know. It's just one of those things. It makes you think, and it should. All right, let's go to Jim from Harding on ice. How are you, Jim?
Oh, yeah, a lot of these idiots, they don't understand anything. Like I say, the reason why they're against ICE because 12 million people brought in. These Democrats don't care who dies in the process. That's collateral damage. And I'm not going to mention the guy's name that calls in, and you always have a tough time with him. But I have to thank that man. Whenever I'm not certain on what side to take, I ask God for guidance, and sure enough, he comes on, and whatever he says, I do the opposite.
Well, I mean, there's people that you could see what Nancy Pelosi thinks, see what Governor Newsom thinks, see what AOC thinks, see what Bernie Sanders says, see what Tim Walz says. I know the exact opposite is true. You know it.
And I tell you what, the one guy I'm talking about, and you know who I am, I'm surprised him and his buddies ain't down in Swarsville protesting out in front of Bayo's Ice. That's how stupid these people are.
That was a good one, Jim. I appreciate it.
One more time. At 3 o'clock down on the square, there's going to be protest against Rob Brennahan, so they're having a counter-protest. So anybody that's for Rob Brennahan...
Yeah, show up for the counter-protest, because these people protesting against him are idiots, liars, and hypocrites.
So all those people that don't know about it and want Rob to be reelected, they should get down there and support him.
Yep, and remember who supports his opponents.
Oh, yeah.
Remember who they are. They're idiots.
Yep. Well, that's complimenting them.
I think it is. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it.
You have a nice day.
You too, man. Thank you. Mike from Bloomsburg. How are you, Mike?
Hey, I'm doing good, Robert. Just an observation, then a question for you. I watched the Channel 16 news on 11 o'clock on D-Day, and they spent 2.5 times as much time on Maryland Man than they did on the remembrance of D-Day. That tells you everything you need to know about ABC.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we have ABC News here, and it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible.
Yes. Okay. Now, the question I have, and I hope this isn't repetitive for you, your guest, John, could you give me like a 45 or 60-second rundown on where he's from, what he's done, and what his goals are with these talks, because they are amazing. He's a jewel that you have on weekly.
Oh, yeah.
I can tell you that. But I just want to know the background.
John Perillo, he's a Naval Academy graduate. He's combat veteran as a Navy man. He got into logistics in terms of his career. He's married to my first cousin, and he lives out in Colorado. He's retired. He's on a ranch that he's set up for himself out there. And we just had some conversations when I was starting the radio show. And he just so impressed me about the depth of his understanding of Western civilization, or frankly, any subject that he would delve into. I said, you got to come on the air. And we did for the first year and almost a half of my program. We didn't do current events. We did the development of Western culture. We're going to go back to that at some point soon. But, I just love him, and Monday Musings is a great part of the program.
It is. Now, here's the bad news, Bob. I'm a baby boomer, okay? And I have a close relationship with many of the kids that I graduated from high school to this day. And I'm going to say at least half of them would listen to John, and they would scoff at what he's saying and saying that he's a right-wing extremist trying to brainwash people.
Because they enjoy being ignorant. I don't know why that is, but they're willingly ignorant, and I don't understand the concept.
Well, here's my belief on that, Bob. Like I said, I watched the news on Wednesday night, or whatever, maybe it was Thursday night. I can't remember whatever D-Day was. I think it's the 6th, right? And long story short, I'm listening to what they're saying about Trump. And so many of the things that they would say, he did this without evidence, or he had no proof on this, but he did that. So basically, what they're doing is they're saying Donald Trump is lying without saying, he's lying, okay?
Yep.
And the people hear that, and that's people have distrust in our government, okay? I mean a lot of distrust, but the people that believe our government, they're the ones that are really bad. I'll tell you. Think about all the lies that we were fed since COVID, and they're coming true. And it's like, hey, why isn't anybody going to jail? Why isn't anybody being prosecuted? Why isn't anybody being kicked out? I don't get it. It's kind of frightening to think the situation we're in right now. And the one thing that the man said to you, people don't realize how quickly things can spin out of control.
I know it. It's scary stuff. Michael, always a pleasure. Thank you, my friend.
You take care now. Have a good one. Bye.
All right. TJ from Wilkes-Barre. I was, a good friend of the show had texted me about this FUBAR pack. And they're a disgraceful bunch of miscreants. They're idiots. And I said, I don't want to publicize it, but you know what? They're going to be there. They're going to be lying. They're going to be scummy. And you guys are planning a counter-protest.
Yeah. We're just going to be there to support Rob, and we're just going to be there because the news is going to be there. I know that I heard Fox News is going to be there, so we just want to make sure that the public knows the truth. That Rob is for seniors, for Medicaid, just doesn't want anybody getting benefits or should I say, our taxpayers'
TJ,
dollars.
there's a 7% in the big beautiful bill. There's which is not big, which is big but not beautiful, but it's what is. There's a 7% increase in Medicaid. Now, how that became a cut is beyond my comprehension. That's the idiots and liars who are going to be protesting today.
Well, that's all they do. That's all they have. See, they don't have the truth, so they have to lie. It's not vote for me because of what I do well. It's I'm going to lie about them, and that inspires their base. They're nuts. They really are nuts, and they don't care. So what we have a choice. We need to just stand up for our rights and principles in this country, and especially what's going on now in California and New York. I've been saying it for years. It's an invasion. And if we don't start standing up to this crazy ideology, we're not going to have our country.
I know.
So today we're going down there peacefully as always. We are going to let them know that not in Luzerne County. You could come here. You could bring your the Musk truck or whatever they're supposed to smash.
You can be as stupid as you can be as stupid as you want to be, but we're going to make sure that everybody knows you're liars.
Yeah. So it's also I got my tent out there, and just so you know, Rodano's Frankie O said I could put the tent over there, and anybody from we're going to be the canopy over there. So if it's a little bit drizzling, come on down, bring an umbrella. But if not, we'll have some stuff. From what I understand, we'll probably got some pizzas and all that. But we're just going to show up, and of course we're going to do what we do best is just show them not on our watch. No, we're not going to. No, not in Luzerne County. Sorry, not in northeastern PA. No, we've had enough. We're going to stand up for the good people,
TJ,
and that's that.
These are the same people who are protesting viciously, burning cop cars. All of this, waving Mexican flags, throwing rocks at cops.
They hate us.
Because on behalf of criminal, illegal aliens. It's so insane, you can't even make it up.
Yeah. The thing with my group, the grassroots groups, our number one thing is immigration reform and stop an invasion. Honestly, that and election reform are number 1 and 2. Then we get freedom of speech, the First Amendment, Second Amendment, and parental rights. That's what we stand for. And you know what? We're going down there to make sure that we keep Rob Bresnahan elected. We need to reelect him. We got to keep our base motivated. Not only that, but we, in another year, We don't need 30% of the people coming out and vote. I want 60%. We got to keep the Trumpsters going because honestly, they're the base. Us deplorables are the base anymore.
And these by-year elections and local elections are the ones where we fail.
Yeah. Well, I have right now, Leanne McDermott's having a thing. I'm going to call about that next week. But today is come on, help Rob. I have a couple events coming up. I'll let you know about it. I'll message you as I always do, and I'll let your audience know. We're going to have one just for Republicans. It's an event at the Township Fire Hall.
Today is counter rally in Wilkes-Barre at the square, and just to show people,
you'll see the red tent. You'll see the NEPA retaliation. Come on over there.
Normal people in Northeast Pennsylvania.
Oh,
yes.
And just so you know, Dwayne McDavitt, Bikers for Trump, started this.
Yep.
They started this thing, and he's going to have the Bikers for Trump coming from his house down Wyoming Avenue over Market Street. So we're going to have the flag truck coming down. He put a really good rally together. Dwayne, we owe a lot to Dwayne McDavitt down here.
He's the best. Thank you.
He is.
TJ, thank you, my man. Appreciate it.
Yes,
Appreciate you doing it.
Appreciate it. Bye.
All right. We've got to take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We will be back. Doobie Brothers, Murph tells us that this date, 1973, they were moving up the charts with their hit Long Train Running. Gene from Bucks Township checking in. Yeah, guys, by the way, very, very important. You're going down there to confront ideas that are insane and people who are insane idiots. If you're part of the counter protest today, it's not about going there and fist fighting. It's not going there and physically confronting anybody. It's there about quietly making your presence felt. So just behave. Behave. Keep your cool. You know what they want. They want a confrontation because the media will blame you. They know that. And they are basing everything they do on a lie. I want to say this. It's very important to note. Medicaid, that our stupid lying governor and every other Democrat, Fetterman, all of them, it goes up 7%. In the big, beautiful bill. 7% increase somehow to liars becomes a cut. It's so stupid. You can't make up how dumb these people are. Well, actually, let me say this. Their followers are idiots. And they're idiots, but they're leading the pack knowing or ignoring the fact that it's all lies. Just remember what this is. It is complete manufactured protest. You can't even, seriously, they can't be respected enough to do anything physical. Just behave. And hold your tongue, hold your powder. Just show them, hey, there's normal people here in Northeast Pennsylvania, FUBAR. You're a sickening slice of America, and you're not going to bait us into anything. That's all. By the way, we're finishing with MC Hammer, a guy who made a ton and lost a ton. But this date, 1990, could you imagine it's that long ago, 35 years ago? Is he still alive? Number 9 on the top 10 charts with his hit, You Can't Touch This. And that's how we're going out. Murph gives us that. Somebody texted, nobody listened to Lou Bartlett in the past. Was he right? In hindsight, I wish he was around now for getting this nonsense straightened out. Keep up the good fight, LTS. LTS back at you. Now, this is nuts. 3 o'clock is that counter protest. The peaceful counter protest. But please, don't get goaded in to embarrassing our side. It happened once, January 6th. And they use it to this moment. The liars use it to this moment. Please don't create another one for them. But when you're right, you don't have to get angry. Leave it to them. By the way, a newspaper that I saved over the weekend. It was an Associated Press story, unfortunately, but that's fine. It was in the Times Leader on Friday. And it basically said these stories will go on because the World War II vets who we are losing have handed over the duty of remembering D-Day 81 years later. Think about it. There's not many left. They showed a guy named Arlester Brown, a 101-year-old veteran of World War II. He served in the laundry unit that accompanied the Allied advances through France, Low Countries, and Nazi Germany. And he told the story on this past Monday. But who will tell the story when they are gone? And every year they are vanishing. So, just a great story from Omaha Beach, France. We'll continue to tell the story here on this program. But it's good to know that those veterans, recognizing their mortality, I mean, you're 102 years old. How much longer can you tell people about D-Day? So it's our job. By the way, my man Joe Martin, he texted in, a person who shoes horses is called a farrier. And that's, by the way, this the way the veteran's name was spelled is Koepisch. And I'm saying Kopish, but it could be just Kepish. And let's not forget about our veterans. Final mention, brought to you by our guy, John Basiliga. Monday night at a Terra 519. By the way, I can attest, it's a great night there. Walter Kepish, Stillwater, Fishing Creek Township. James Foley, Dixon City. Michael Burke, Pittston. Paul Solomon, Wyoming Valley. Gregory Phillips, late of Oneida, New York, but he was from Carbondale. And Nicholas Coyer Chinchilla, our great veterans today. Sue Henry Show next. And Rob O'Donnell Show after that. God willing, I'll be back with you tomorrow morning for another edition of this Bob Cordaro Show, otherwise known as the Club for Common Sense. But for now, I must say adios, and I must gavel to a close this meeting, today's meeting. Have a great afternoon, guys.